your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on, come on, come on. I know you're sleeping now. You gotta whip us more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people who us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people who us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that left us to all our damages. We tired with their speech they preach indeed, and now you need to deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why can you lie? Why can you steal? Why can you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you. That's why we vote for you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they go knock the government. No one to trust. My people don't want to hope on nobody. My hope that I have been broken. I'm telling you, brother. So where are the schools? Where are the roads? Where are the jobs that they said they could afford? But they're too selfish. The people tired with their rhetoric. People tired, they tired. You see the reason why we ask why the government betray. They have enough of time, but yeah, then instead they delay. People suffer. No work for people crying for hunger. Look at. Your vision and your mission, your intention to the nation, they poor. You got nothing to show. Nothing. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they go knock the government. With the promises that left us to all our damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now you need to deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why can you lie? Why can you steal? Why can you allow the citizens to breathe? You see, we just tell you. That's why we vote for you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. They lie.
Parents, you could have your phone take all the post clean money. But if I see the money again, I'll bring for a good thing. Because Ali and I see them carrying in Europe. Some point in the country, all government are in eligible interest. That's the money. But we tell no money, the small girl will go to our people there, go to your soon invest. I can't be all in one country to invest. So I was telling money I carry to Ghana, correct? No. But one can get out of me. I was taking from you, Gary. No. Yeah, I'll leave it. Yes. The day God take me, I will carry her with me. No. Our grandchildren will kind of see the ones there, but what kind of looking for? They go book power on there. So these are the things we'll be doing. I just want to say thank you to for doing what he's doing. What the young man doing, he's just doing a part. One day will not be representative.
And you will have the people money.
Innocent people are dying. The students are still people. We are Liberia is bleeding, the people are suffering, we are we tired, we are we tired with the hunger, we tired with the carry.
When you order from Domino's, you can get more than just pizza for $6.99 each.
Got to beg John, we had to go. Can you imagine that? Got to beg this man to leave this country.
This country is not about education. It's about what the Liberian people needs. Our needs and wants. The leader that can provide all the best praise, look at your homes, look at your villages. You are living in huts. A book and English can develop country. Liberia is supposed to be the best country in the world.
Tell me about it. Let's begin the show, folks. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum talk show. Notice I removed the weekly talk show because clearly we're not having these shows weekly anymore. And so it's only fair that we name the show as it is. So I wouldn't say welcome to the Liberian Diaspora weekly talk show because we're no longer doing weekly, thanks to the busy schedules of America. However, the show still exists. Oh no, LDF is here and it will be here. It's here to stay. Let's just say it that way. So we'll have these shows every time permits us.
And especially now. So I told you last week that between now until October 10th, when we shall vote President Weir out, we will try to have show here at least once a week, every weekend, inshallah, we'll do that. Today, as of right now, we are 29 days away to October 10th. 29 days to the elections. Think about that. We've waited 5 years, several months. So finally, we are less than a month to the election. 29 days to the elections. But let's talk about the election a little bit. Let's talk about that. Let me quickly state that I'm fully aware that I'm having a show at the time when most people are asleep in Liberia. It's past 2 o'clock, past 2 a.m. in Liberia. So, and over here in the U.S., in the West, a lot of people are getting ready to go to bed because tomorrow is Monday, right? First working day of the week. So you do not expect anybody to be up this late, to be crazy as I am. I too have to be at work tomorrow. So honestly, that's why I'm forcing this show to happen this late. I should have appeared here much sooner, but I've had some issues to deal with. Issues that were far more pressing than this one. So I'm finally here, right? That's what counts. So we're having a show believing that our people will come and watch the show after. After all, when you discontinue the show, when you stop having show, there's a tendency of you losing your audience, which we are fully aware of. We know that many other talk show hosts have taken over our audience. Notwithstanding, we still believe that there are some out there who still look for LDF. Purposely, they go looking for LDF because they so believe in our analysis and in our view on issues. And so therefore, they've told us personally, they call us and they go out looking for our show to listen to it. So hopefully you are one of those. The one appeal we want to make to you, when you watch this show, whether it's now or later, please do us a favor. Please share the show. Share the show. Do not listen to it alone. Share the show. Let other people have the chance to listen to it. That's the beauty of it, right? We come here to talk not just to ourselves and not just to you, but for all who care to listen to have the chance to do so. And so that's what we've come to do. Now, I know, I'm fully aware. I know that last week's show, we were here a little longer than we expected, even though, again, that wasn't even as organized. So a lot has happened ever since last week. A lot has happened, right? So you know, CDC have already, for instance, everyone is talking about that. And when I was here last week, I told you some folks had reached out to me seeking my guidance as whether they should go to the rally or not. You know what I told you that I told them. And so now that rally is behind us. Maybe let's look at that a little bit. But also there was another rally today, which I don't intend to talk about. Honestly, I don't intend to talk about the other launching that took place today. You know it, I know it, but I'll leave that up to the folks who care to talk about it. See, the thing about me with this particular election, I'm not interested in these small parties. No offense to them. They are all relevant. We have 46 political parties registered. 46. As small as that country is, we have 46 political parties registered. 20 candidates, 20 presidential candidates. But like everywhere else, we want to talk about the big stuff, the big candidates, right? Maybe not the two, maybe three, maybe four. But all of us know that this October 10th election, in many ways, it will come to be a rematch of 2017 between CDC and UP. That's what it looks like. From all indication, it looks like that's what we headed for, right? A rematch of 2017. With a few elements, of the line, stuff like that. So what I intend to do today, therefore, I want to talk about CDC, obviously, and the ruling party, CDC, President Weir. I want to talk about him just a little bit and also talk about the rally that it just concluded. And then I also want to talk about Eli Johnson Sirleaf and Joseph Boakai. Now that I know, and there are no new development here, folks, so don't get your hopes up. Whatever it is that I have to say about EJS and JNB will be things that you already know, probably know it better than me, but it's worth noting, it's worth talking about. And so against that backdrop, I want to lift up that part of it because it's worth noting. And it's concerning, right? So if time permits, I do want to talk about that. And lastly, for the night, since I'm doing this show so late, it's past 9 p.m. here in Minnesota, past 10 o'clock on the East Coast. So lastly, I want to give you 4 out of 30 reasons that I have listed as to why you should not vote for President Weah comes October 10th. Do not vote President Weah. Doing so will simply mean you don't love Liberia, right? So I'll give you 4 reasons tonight. So there are 30 reasons. You see, the real thing, I've decided to give you 30 good reasons why you should vote for JNB and 30 good reasons why you should not vote for George Weah. All right, but tonight I'm going to do 4 reasons as to why. I'm going to wrap up with 4 reasons why I think that you should not vote for President Weah's re-elections. And then, inshallah, when we come back next week, we will give more reasons as to why you should not, and give you reasons as to why you must vote JNB this time. I don't like JNB that very much. That's a sad thing. When I say this, people find it hard to believe, but that's a whole different conversation for another day. I'll tell you why we're supporting JNB, but I don't go to bed thinking about JNB. And more besides, lastly, as part of my disclaimer, let me also add that unlike many other talk show hosts that I know Liberia, everyone has become talk show hosts. Somehow, I feel that we have more talk shows now than we have listenership. There are more people talking than listening. That's the country we find ourselves. But despite that, I want you to put me on the record as the only talk show host, perhaps the only one that I know, who has decided to come and support JNB with no string attached. No string attached. In other words, when Costa supported JNB the way he did, all of us now know what he wanted, right? Hobie Hoy was trying to be his running mate, to be VP. Imagine that. JNB knows better, right? Costa VP, is he a cabinet minister material, let alone VP? But at least we knew there was string attached to it. So it's like everybody who comes out to talk, they do so with some conditionalities, right? Conditions attached to the support. Well, unlike me, fellow, I have no direct connection with JNB. No, I do not. I've met the man on occasion, just like many of you have. I don't pretend to know him. I'm not his friend. He's not my friend, but he's my candidate in this election because I believe he has the ability. I believe he's the one nearest to power, the one capable of removing George Weah and probably bringing this country back to sanity, right? Just making a quick reverse, a quick turn, so this country can be back to where, or at least on the right trajectory, on the right direction to doing better. That's the only reason I'm supporting JNB. No, I'm not supporting him because I've been promised anything. That's not what it is. So put me on record for that. Now, mind you, let me be clear. I'm not saying that, oh no, I will not work for JNB if you were to be elected. But the point is, there are no arrangement here. There's nothing that's been arranged. You get it, right? You get the idea. That's the disclaimer I wanted to issue. So let's talk about CDC here. Let's begin with that. So, it will interest you to know, or I don't know how many of you remember the late Ronald Reagan, the late Ronald Reagan, the late president of the United States of America. People can have their opinion, and no matter how narrow, how limited, how much support they have for it. I mean, in other words, regardless of how many people agree with them, but if they firmly believe in something, I think they should continue to make that case, even if other people don't see it right at that time. One person, at least one former U.S. president who did that on a very strange topic, well, not so strange, but something he said that no other American president has supported since his presidency, his demise to today's date. I have not heard any support for that thing. What was the thing? Well, I don't know if you know that Ronald Reagan was the one president in America, probably the one high-profile politician who did not believe in term limit. It was Ronald Reagan's opinion that if the people like their leader, they should continue to elect their leader. There shouldn't be no 2-term limit. That was Ronald Reagan's argument. That was his term. Who are we to deprive the people of their preferred leaders? Yes, he supported democracy in all forms. And in fact, to him, that was also part of democracy, giving the people the chance to continuously elect leaders that they see fit, leaders that they believe in, as long as the people were willing to serve and the people were willing to elect them. Pretty much like Congress, like lawmakers, representatives and senators of U.S. At least for now, there's no term limit on it. Now, I know because of Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, so now they are debating the issue as to whether there should be some laws enacted to make sure that they don't get so old in there to the start, frozen on stage, like what's happening to some Senate minority leader. But Ronald Reagan truly believed that there should be no term limit. That's what he believed. Now, I'm saying this to say, conversely, in comparison, I'm also one person who I'm not high profile, so therefore mine would definitely not resonate with anybody. But it turned out when I did a little research that I'm not the only one who believed this. This has actually been tested somewhere in few countries, including an African country. What the thing I'm talking about? I'm talking about the idea that, let me rephrase it this way, to say maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea to set up a system of government in any country, be it Western or maybe especially a big Western country. Their campaign financing and campaign funding, they are so straightforward. But I think this will be mainly beneficial to African countries and African nations, in my opinion. The idea is that there ought to be some system put in place so that if an incumbent, a sitting president, decides to seek re-election, that incumbent should be separated from the ruling government, from national resources, so that incumbent can do their own fundraising, use his or her own money to campaign with that. In fact, when I did the research, I found out that countries that have tried this, they did not only separate the president from the national wealth, but in fact, they put a caretaker government. An interim government was put in place to few months, however many months they agreed to, leading up to the election, just to ensure absolute balance, absolute free and fair democratic elections, so that the president, who has so much advantage as a sitting president, controlling everything, including national resources, the police, the army, and yet competing against people who got almost no power except for however much they have in their pocket. That's the first unfair electoral practices of our time, and especially so in Africa. So I'm saying this to say, all of us know that the man George Weah, we once loved him, now with our cause. He was our celebrity, the darling boy, Africa best, Europe best, Asia best, everywhere best. But the other thing we also know about him as a Liberian, maybe the rest of the world may not know this, is that the man is very wasteful. George Weah is very wasteful. He earned millions of dollars from his God-given talent, soccer. But to date, you correct me if I'm wrong, there's not one property in Liberia George Weah can show that he acquired that is still standing vibrant as a result of his decades of soccer career. Show me one. Even the house, the little house he had on 9th Street, that was not even worth his title. Well, he finally demolished that now because he got much more money to build everything brand new. The man is wasteful. He made millions of dollars and he leveraged everything on women, allegedly. So he got nothing left. So therefore, everything that he now owns, of course, you know where they're coming from. But the point is, campaign is not cheap. Politics is very expensive. Campaign is very, very expensive. And we always complain about JNB being cheap. They are not spending money. Alexander Cummings, yeah, he brought a little money from the US. They may be a little better than JNB when it comes to spending. But by far, George Weah is outspending all of them. So where do you think George Weah is getting the money from? Is it his soccer money, his personal money? Of course not. So how fair is that? How can you compete against a man who has the national bank, as his personal account? So how far can you go without fairness? So we know George Weah and his ruling party, CDC, they are spending the national wealth for their re-election. Well, that can't be fair, my friends. I don't think that's a fair thing. Of course, that's not just limited in fairness. Let's just say that's not limited to Liberia, it's not limited to George Weah. But everything that we see happening today started somewhere. And I'm not suggesting that happened within 29 days, but I sincerely believe that it is something worth looking into. How does a sitting president, gets money to campaign? I mean, can they show clear demarcation of their personal campaign funding versus the national resources, national wealth? Of course not. Annie Johnson Sirleaf did it for her re-election, no doubt. Weah is doing it. Probably Alassane Conte of Africa, probably every African leader does it, I want to believe. But over here in the West, the case is different. We know that. But that's the first thing that I want to bring to your attention. And so with that, you can only imagine that these people are leaving no stone unturned because they have unlimited resources. They have so much money. As hard as the country is, where you think the money is? It can't be that high on them. They get what they want. All the bogus contractors, the handful they have working, the Freeport, the Seaport, it. More besides, they are also in the position to make promises unrealistic promises that will not benefit Liberia. They are well positioned to make those to some wealthy, greedy businessmen around the globe. Take money from them and come for their re-election with the promise that if we are re-elected, we can do this much for you. And they will do it. Of course. Those are all just part of the imbalances of an incumbent deciding to seek another term. It's just not fair. It's never been fair. It's not fair now. It was never fair then. And until people can wake up and begin to realize that, well, this is not right. It would never be right. And that's why when you look at the George Weah, they just ended rally for instance. And I think that's why even prompted my conversation on this national wealth separation from the sitting president. This gone rally that we saw on Thursday, for instance, we saw a lot. The people came on in their number. Hold on, let me turn on this issue right here. That's a little hot in here. 1 minute. I want to go through this. So, excuse me. So that's why everything, whatever it takes to get re-elected, it seems to me that George Weah and his co-conspirators are willing to do that. And they have the resources. They have the authority, they have the resources, they have authority to suppress their opponents, they have more money to outspend their opponents. Because again, they have the National Bank, National Treasury, in their back pocket. Sametor, will write a check to make sure he stays at Finance Ministry. Let's make no mistake about that. So this going rally on Thursday, for instance, we know that a lot of people showed up. Now, I've told people, and I've seen a lot of posts on social media. People came out. Let's be honest. A lot of people came out. The number was quite impressive. And in fact, I have a different take on that number, the way it came out. So my own take about it, you don't have to believe it. That these are just my opinion. But let's first look at the people that came out. Firstly, let's not take away the fun. Let's not be so hateful. Let it not be that we want George Weah gone so much that we become blind to reality. No, let's not do that. The reality is George Weah is the most popular Liberian ever lived. That's the truth. Let's get that straight. Whether you like the man or not, he's popular. He's very, very popular. He's been popular for a long time. He's done things that no Liberian has done. He's been places, he's been honored. It's like it came a time George Weah was more popular outside than even in Liberia. I see George Weah caught traffic in Ivory Coast, in Abidjan, for hours. The same is true in many other African countries, even some European countries, very popular. So let's get those basics together, right? So there are more people associated with CDC because of George Weah than the party. So every time the name George Weah is mentioned, there are people who are eager to see the man. Oh, is this the George Weah? I think people like it. No doubt. It's like the Donald Trump here. As terrible as he is, he's got people who truly can't get enough of him. So the man is popular. He was popular before he got into politics, and I think politics added a little bit to it. So George Weah, against any single Liberian politician, he will defeat that politician flat, hands down. There's not a politician in Liberia today who's anywhere near popular as George Weah. That is the truth. And we get that. We're not disputing that. But his popularity alone did not fill that stadium, the ATS. I mean, it was more than that. See, the thing we need to know, George Weah is very popular, but he was more popular 2005, perhaps even 2017 than he is today. Because back in 2005, if you were in Liberia, we know what people used to do for CDC business. We know how people acquire t-shirts, for instance. We know the kind of distances they travel to come be part of CDC rally. We know how families fell apart over CDC issues. Of course, 2005, we also know that even if you were to put a door on CDC ticket, that door would have gotten elected in no time. No questions asked. To the extent that I thought to myself, I said, I think Manigo made a big mistake. At that time, that was the best time for us to have elected many of our folks to the legislature, but more so as a running mate to George Weah. Of course, we didn't know that he would have turned out to be this kind of poor, incompetent leader. But at that time, given his popularity, that kind of swept over the nation and the party. But he's popular. So fast forward, we're in 2023. Yes, popularity is not what it used to be. People have tested his leadership, and there are a whole lot of disappointments. Nothing but disappointment. Nothing is working. The country is running less than a 12-hour economy. The whole country, by 8, 9, 10 o'clock, the whole country shut down. It's a country that shut down. 12 hours economy. It's the only country where I've seen police stations closed and people go to bed. The men checkpoints all over depots at the end of the night, they dismount everything, they go to bed. Their shift have ended. Their shift has ended, right? Seriously? The time when they think there should be more manpower, when crime is the way it is, the folks will pack up and dismantle their checkpoint after they've collected enough bribes. They'll go home to their wives, to their family. They don't work it. They come back in the morning when everybody else is coming to work. Police, law enforcement, but that's what it is. So amidst all of those things, obviously George Weah is bound to be a little bit unpopular, and he is. He's very unpopular today. Don't get me wrong, he's still popular, but compared to 2005, compared to 2017, it's not the same George Weah anymore. Never mind the fact people talking about, he's done this, the die-hard Weahians, the way as he himself called them now, will always be who they are. They will not reason. So his popularity brought people to the football field, but then the issue I've started on, which is the national web, the unlimited resources they have. They have raw money, long money. Let's put it in simple Liberian term. That can't just finish. As long as they are in power, money coming, and they will spend it to maintain themselves in power. Well, what would they do? Why would you spend the money on the things that are bringing you the money, the government? Why would you spend the amount to stay where you are? So therefore, in addition to Mr. Weah's popularity, there were a lot of people trucking, right? There were a lot of people brought in. to also to form part of the crowd. They pay people, they transported people, they airlifted people. However, whatever they had to do to bring people to fill the stadium, they did that. They brought a lot of people. Funny thing is, well, I know I see at least 7 or 9 presses today at a different party launching earlier yesterday, but late yesterday in Monrovia. You know the party I'm talking about. I've seen a lot of people there yesterday that were at that scene Thursday in CDC T-shirt on Thursday. So when we wrote and said, "Oh, borrow crowd," George, we at CDC always setting new records. Now they've turned the infamous borrow crowd of Muscarado County into an expensive rented crowd. The rented people. I also happen to know, I happen to be a friend of a lot of sellers, a lot of our sisters who run these sellers this, seller that. I know at least 4 of those sellers who were handed $500 cash to change, convert it into Liberian dollar and pay their members 2,000 LD each to make sure they wore T-shirt and go to the event, and they had to show themselves to somebody to prove that they didn't just take the money. So they did all of that. But you know what? There's something we say, that's commentary after the game, right? That's commentary after the match. Whatever they did to get people there, they did. How they did it, I'm not the only one who, at least I thought. In fact, I watched a video. There's a video of a long-term seditious, one Ibrahim Colley, whatever, who had a little incident with Moba Molu when they had called them before the rally and they went there to meet. They were asking them to bring their various organizational chairmen to collect money that they needed to go distribute and more people to come. When he got there, unfortunately for him, according to him, he made a stop to a friend's place before reaching the Moba Molu compound, and his friend unknowingly put a JNB sticker on his, little Bonanza phone, little orange phone. And when that was discovered, he almost got killed. His life is in danger. What's in danger? He still feels that his life is in danger. I watched that 1 hour, 2 hour interview with that he gave some press people after the incident. So there were money. There's no question about money being distributed. Pimping riders, for instance, the motorcyclists, they were giving $11,000, right? Some of them almost killed one another over the distribution of that money. All in all, report has it that CDC spent at least 1.8, some people say at least $2 million to do what they did on Thursday. Money spent on people, logistics, and everything, but $2 million, 1.8, $2 million, that what? In the whole country budget. It's nothing for them. In fact, to be honest with you, I feel a little sad because I had hoped that by this time, money will be floating all over Liberia because of this election. Campaign time, that time money can come on that. That time people know some of our people can make breaks. That when, money will be all over. Parties will be spending, politicians, money will come out. Sadly, that has not been the case with this election. People still complaining roughly until maybe we'll begin to see that now. Now that we are in the final weeks leading up to the election, 29 days to go. What CDC did on Thursday, I'm not sure the same was true yesterday with the other party because, like I said, nobody can match the government when it comes to spending. They have the most money. They've stored enough over the years, and they're still sitting there, unaccountable to anybody. When's the last time, George, we had they balance any budget? When? It's funny how the likes of Samuel Toy and all these folks used to refer to our brother Amara Kone as Amara budget for Kone. Amara budget short for Kone. Well, saying he took over, it's been worse. But this is the scam they are running, that they will do anything, spend any amount, including going outside to get money from lenders with some unrealistic promises. Well, they may be realistic to whoever the businessman, crooked businessmen, by the way. They will not go to IMF. They will not go to legitimate banking institution. They will go to greedy, dishonest businessmen, borrow money from them to come and finance their re-election campaign and then do whatever they have to do. So money was spent. So it was no surprise that they put out the number they put out. Now, lastly, before I move to the next topic here, the crowd that came out, here's my take on the crowd. Apart from people being paid, Liberian people general in the Masharada area, they see crowd being for everybody. See people for everybody, borrow crowd, whatever. Even if another launching comes tomorrow, you'll see that most of the same people will go to that launching. You know that. I know that. So that's nothing strange, and it's not limited to CDC anyway. The only difference is they have more money to spend and they could bring more people out. But I bet you when JNB comes out on the 17th, there will be a lot more people. Same old people. Some of the people, just mark them. If you saw the launching yesterday, mark some of the folks. You will see that they were at the launching, we'll see wearing CDC t-shirt on Thursday, and on the 17th, some of the same folks will be there. That's why you cannot count on them much. But here's why I think it's important. It was important that CDC brought them. See, I know there are some within CDC who understand exactly that some of these people, you can't depend on them. After all, we put a crowd. We put a lot of people 2020 doing Darius DeLong special election. How can we lose that? They understand that. They know that even if the whole of Liberia had gone to the ATS on Thursday, that don't mean shit. I mean, excuse my expression. They know that not everyone who went there will vote for them anyway. But they still wanted people to go because they felt it's necessary. Now, here's why I think they felt that it was necessary. I think that what they are trying to do is to lay the premise for the aftermath of the election. You know, a lot of our people are not sophisticated. They're not. In many ways, I'm afraid, sometimes I worry that I hope we don't have a different form of January 6th in Liberia post October 10th. Because what CDC was trying to do there by paying so many people, by making sure that the stadium was choked to capacity, the rationale behind that was for people to see, for the international community to see, for other people to see that the man is still overly popular, even if that is not the case. I know people that want to pay money to and ask them to go to the stadium. They told them, but we don't support Joe. We say you don't have to support Joe. We are. I swear to God. If need be, I can play you some recordings. They told them, at least their representative who went to invite them to go to the rally told them, you don't have to support Joe. We are. All we want you to do is to wear t-shirts and go to the stadium. That's all we want. It's almost like me, 2017. I said that same thing to people. I put a lot of case on KLB, the old school bus they call KLB in Liberia. I rented 2 of those 2017. When Friends for the Future, at least see that group, when we were Dawson, Joe Bakai, in Clarendon, we were trying to fill the hall. I rented the bus. I went to the Sakofi. I promised the children I'll pay them $500 each to get on the bus and go to Clarendon for endorsement. They told me clearly we don't support JNB. I told them we don't care. Who cares? All we want, wear the damn t-shirt, go to the hall, fill the hall, be in the photo. When we don't, if you don't want to look at JNB picture anymore, don't look at it. And they came. Something similar on Thursday. So they told people you don't have to like Joe Weir, you don't have to vote Joe Weir. But if you want, we'll pay you at least 1,005 LD, 2,000 LD with a free t-shirt. You come, you enjoy yourself, good music, and that's it. So they did so because, like as I was saying, because in their psyche, they want the international community to see that stadium the way they saw it, the way all of us saw it. The stadium was jam-packed, right? A lot of people show up there. And so they're trying to lay the groundwork for possible fraudulent activities so that if they fail to win election on merit, well, they can come back to say, well, this is not possible. Everybody knows how CDC is popular. We even saw the rally. We saw how the stadium was packed. Of course, everybody can bear witness to that, especially so if DNB comes out on the 17th, and let's say, God forbid, it's not able to bring out as many people, even though there are so many more silent voters, people like myself, there are a lot of people who don't go to those areas. But the idea is that Every time, image, picture speaks 1,000 words. One picture speaks 1,000 words, not million words, right? So what people see or what people saw on that Thursday at the stadium will stick with a lot of people. Think about it. Every time I've seen those images being put out on social media like crazy. People putting them together. When you see it, you think, well, why are they even conducting election for? Judge, we already won. And that's the whole idea. That's the goal they were trying to accomplish. That's why they wanted anybody and everybody. Did we mention, apart from paying people, apart from job popularity, did we mention that they also made it mandatory for every civil servant, every government official to be there? Oh, they did. If you want your job and you are in the country, you had better be there. They made it mandatory. Everybody to be there. They spend the government money on their own re-election bid. They force people against their will, whether or not they were interested. If you work for your own national government, which they now see as their personal thing, you better be there. And they pay people. They did all this because they wanted you and I, the international community at large, to see the stadium the way it turned out to be. So the problem we have on our hand, the people who came out yesterday were there launching. Well, you know very well, they came out strong, but nothing compared to Thursday. That is the truth. You know that. The rest of the people who will be coming out, I refuse to believe that anybody will put out that number, that fake number, because it's fake. There were people, I just told you, how many times do I need to say there were people there who did not want to be there. There were people who went there for the money. There were people who were forced to be there. People whose salary got caught as civil servant. For God's sake, why would those people want to wear t-shirts to go be there if they were not forced to go there? But they were there. And the number grew. It looked decent. It looked great. So God forbid, post October 10, if Election Commission were to announce something different, or whatever it is, the number given to them is not pleasing to them, they want to argue. They want to challenge that. They are prepared to challenge that. And you know what? Long before now, they have also prepared the Supreme Court for such challenge. Oh, really? Why can't they keep the likes of Cabinet General of the Supreme Court bench? So the Supreme Court bench, the judicial system as a whole, is also prepared for what would be possible, a fake allegation, however you want to term it. They put a lot of preparation, a lot of time into this. So I think that's why the need to get people to fill that stadium was so relevant to them. And that's why they did everything and anything and were willing to do whatever it took to get people into that stadium. That was the purpose behind it. You have to wonder, historically, I'll leave that for that's another day topic. But anyway, so the stadium got filled, and kudos to them. If that's what they wanted, they got it. But mark my word, they have better hear what they hope to hear from the Elections Commission. Otherwise, they will challenge that information. And the only proof citizens will give you will be pictures from that stadium. Look, see Thursday when people went for the rally. Look at these people. Can you compare this with XYZ? Of course not. But hello, are you aware that all those people, the people you show in this picture, some of the people went to the other people's side, some of them were forced to be here, and so therefore the overwhelming majority of them may not have voted for you. Can you also speak to that? That would be the challenge. And don't depend on the Supreme Court in Liberia. Don't depend on them. These folks have already prepared the judicial system, including the Supreme Court, for would be a possible court challenge. So ruling can be made on their behalf, in their favor. Please do me a favor. Share the show. Please do me. I'm just asking for a favor. Share the show. It's been a while, a long time we haven't been having show. So, and every time you do that in show business, I guarantee you lose audience. So let's please help me share the show now or later. I would appreciate that. All right. So let's leave that down. Hopefully you get the idea. All right. So now, I told you when it comes to, look, you see Joe Boakai behind me? This is Joseph Boakai and Co. his running mate in my background. So there's no question, there's no doubt that I want to see Joseph Boakai elected as Liberia's next president. But notwithstanding, I'm very worried about it. If it happens, I will be the happiest person. But if it does not happen, I swear, wallahi, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I know there are a lot of things at play. On a hand. All right? For instance, we know that Joseph Boakai, somebody that he served under for 12 solid years. In fact, according to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf herself, she has worked with Joe Boakai longer than 12 years. They worked together many years earlier before even they started working together as president and vice president. So she has told people, she told the nation of Liberia, through our late brother Mani Jakite's show, that Joseph Boakai was by far the most trusted person that she knew, someone who could carry on her legacy. Those were Ellen Johnson's own words. I mean, I think I posted a video. I posted that video. I'm trying to find it. Those were Ellen Johnson's own words. But unfortunately, those were few years earlier or prior in their working relationship. What happened leading up to the end of their government, nobody knows. Nobody really knows what transpired. But the fact remains, whatever it was very, very, it must have been very, very serious. That's what I can say. It must have been very, very serious, to the extent that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is now waiting to let them go so easily. And sadly, every time Omer Boakai has been cautioned about this, he himself has not said much about it either. You know, I remember recently he was on the show and this same question came out, and all I heard him say was that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf had the right to support whoever she wanted to support. Of course, nobody said he doesn't have the right. But the question is, what happened, Omer? Why haven't you to fix this? You know this thing cost you the presidency 2017. You know that. All of us know that. The nation knows that. The world knows that. And unfortunately, the same old scenario, the same old lady, that same witchcraft old lady is once again attempting to rob you out of the opportunity of serving your people, serving our nation. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is not sleeping. She's working hard. She's working really, really hard to make sure that Joseph Boakai does not become president. But people, let cry foul. Let live this story, because you don't hear much about it. But people who have spoken to the Omar recently, apparently she has made it clear to them that she cannot, in good conscience, she cannot allow JNB to become Liberia's president in good conscience while she's alive. Now, casually, when you talk to the people who claim to be a little bit closer to them, they have expressed things like her fear for Joseph Boakai, going after her. That I found a little bit unbelievable, because how could Joseph Boakai possibly go after Ellen for a government that they both serve in? It's got to be more than that. There's got to be something else. But I don't know, and I don't pretend to know. All I know is what you know. And what you know, I believe, is what we've been hearing, which is that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf still does not support Joseph Boakai presidency. And so she's working around the clock. She's working day and night to ensure that Joseph Boakai is not elected. Why? Or rather, let's paraphrase that question. So when we heard that that's what she was doing this time around, it didn't bother some of us as much, because what we thought was that, well, She did this thing 2017. We remember. All of us know. We all saw it. But this time she's no longer president. She doesn't have any fish, any fish to fry in the oil. So what can she possibly do this time? Those were the rhetorical questions we were asking ourselves. What can she do now? She's not in power. She's not controlling anything. That's what we thought. That is what we thought. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is not in charge of the government. She's not controlling anything. And so therefore, she could not possibly hinder our chances. She could not stand in the way of Omer Boakai being elected this time. But no, far from the truth. Very, very far. So of recent, we have learned that some of these 20 political candidates, we got 20 people running, right? 20 candidates, imagine that. 20 candidates running. We have learned that at least 5 or possibly 6 of those candidates and their parties are in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's pocket. Madame Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the political George Weah of Liberia, they call her. Behold, she's believed to have 5 or possibly up to 6 of those so-called presidential candidates and their parties in her pocket, in her back pocket, sponsoring them, making connection for them, regularly advising them, counseling them, steering the affairs of their activities from the back. So therefore, we are told that the plan is, folks, you would agree though, all you would agree that this election appears to be or would be, for the most part, a rematch of 2017, whereby CDC and Unity Party will come out for the second and final round, right? Isn't that what it looks like? So, and that's when those 5 to 6 political parties in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's back pocket will prove significant. That's when they will be important, because at that point, that will be the point of concession making, arrangement, supporting, back supporting. So therefore, we've been made to believe, we've been made to understand that that will be the time Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf will steer those of our sponsor candidates and their parties to the direction of George Weah, thereby beefing up their strength, going into the second round, and possibly winning the election. Somebody asked me, they said, but why is Eddie doing all of this? I said, well, number one, I don't know. And that's why I said from the get-go here that whatever Joe Boakai did to Ellie is something, it must have been something that's very, 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 very serious, grievous. Let's put it that way. I don't know. But one thing I do know, however, you can't tell me that Ellie is not benefiting from President George Weah's leadership. Oh yeah, Ellie is benefiting a lot. Please wait for me. Please let me explain. Ellie is benefiting a lot from George Weah's bad leadership. She may not be benefiting money. She may not be getting a dime out of George Weah. That's not what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, she herself probably stole enough so much that she does not need any money from George Weah. Probably. All right? But the thing she's benefiting more from George Weah is more than any amount of money that George Weah can possibly give her. And what is that thing? Image. If a good president had taken over from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a good president, a good leader, can you imagine how that leader would have made Ellen Johnson Sirleaf 12 years look like a mess? The only way you can know that one thing is better than the other is when you've had the chance to try both. Agree? The way we tried Ellen Johnson 12 years and now we're finishing Mr. Weah 6 years. So now we're making comparison. And what's happening now is that because we are so incompetent, so much of, or not so bad at leadership, so he is making Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to look like an angel, like the best leader Liberia has ever had. That's why Ellen is benefiting. You think Ellen is mad? Ellen is enjoying this. Everything that nation is going through, the suffering, that our people have been subjected to, the hunger, the humiliation, the lack of basic necessities of life, everything that our people are going through. And he is laughing in silence. Because mind you, when Eddie was there, the Sinta, Omel, UN, there were a lot of business. The country wasn't like this. Let's say true, right? The country was way better than what it is today. So when Eddie leaves and this guy of this thing of a president, the man who could not even manage Lone Star as a captain, he could not even manage the national team, become a national president, continue to drag the country down the mark from bad to worse. So now people beginning to be thankful to Eddie. Oh, wow. They say, at least when my Eddie were here, things were not like this. That's what the people say. And that's what Eddie likes to hear. And that's why she's benefiting from George Weah's bad leadership. So if you add that to the fact that she's also not happy with Joe Barker, then there you have it. Then she got every reason to undermine the election of Honorable Joseph Yuma Barker. She does. But I hope her plans fail this time. I hope they fail miserably. I sure hope so. I can't find this video. I'm not going to waste my time finding it. So, but so that is the other hand at play. Now, Eddie Johnson Sirleaf, whether you like her or not, is immaterial. But you do know that she has lots of international contact. She so loved George Weah leadership style, bad leadership style, to the extent that she wouldn't even put any of her so-called international contact on the line as far as inviting investors or helping George Weah to build good image outside Liberia. No, she wouldn't do that. Mind you, she got all the awards outside Liberia. All the awards you can think of. The same way we got all the awards in soccer, in football. Eddie Johnson Sirleaf almost got all the awards as the best female president of Africa. She got every award. She still know those people. She still got their numbers. She can make the case for Liberia. But she will not do that. Because to do so will help George Weah do better. And if George Weah does better, that means now she would then either be comparing with her. Then the question will become, who did better, George Weah or Eddie Johnson Sirleaf? She does not want that. She wants people to continue to cry under this man like this and say, and I can imagine Eddie Johnson Sirleaf, well, I say I wanted a male president. I say I wanted George Weah popular. So I can just imagine those kind of thoughts, right? So, but those are the things that I believe EJS, Madam Eddie Johnson Sirleaf, could be benefiting from this bad situation. But it's about time that she stopped. Liberia is bigger than any one person. Liberia is bigger than her or George Weah. Liberia deserves better. Liberia deserves better. Well, besides, enough is enough. They need to stop. Liberia need to rise again, right? Liberia must rise again. Our people must know what a good life is. They need to. All right. Enough said on that, I hope. So let me conclude now on 4 reasons that I believe anybody who's listening to me now or will listen to me hereafter should probably make sense of as far as not voting for George Weah. See, I don't hate George Weah. I've never, we've all loved George Weah at some point in time in our life. The man was our international ambassador. Ambassador just by his own talent. Everywhere you went, if the people did not know Liberia, at least they knew George Weah. At one point in time, I remember that. The man was more popular than the nation he came from. So I loved him, just as you did, or probably do. But I don't think he's a good leader. That's the point. He's not a presidential material. He has not proven to be one. He has no clue. So, but let me go to the 4 reasons why I sincerely think that we should not give George Weah another chance. Number 1, Well, I was just talking about that. President Weah has proven to be incompetent to lead. He started by, and that was indicative by the first thing that he did that made it clear that this guy wasn't ready to lead was his reluctance, his failure, his refusal to audit the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government on exit. You remember George Weah giving Ellen Johnson Sirleaf 80% rating of a government, right? You remember that? Of course, you know when he took power, the story began different. When he started making all kind of allegations, how they came, there was no money in the coffer, blah blah blah. But yet, this is the same government, the same lady that George Weah rated 80% in terms of goodness of a government. So the fact that Mr. Weah and his government could not even audit, could not even do. You see, when good governments come to power and begin to do things like that, it kind of reassures the international community of some sense of transparency, accountability, and in turn, those become invitation for would-be investors to come to your country. We know our brother across the border, Sierra Leone, Bills, whatever. We know what he did, at least when he first started, right? Those things are necessary. There's got to be some resemblance of accountability. There has to be. You can't just sweep everything under the raw, and start fresh. Government is continuity. Unless President Weah really want to say that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf ran such a good government that he had no cause for audit. Well, if so, then why are they pointing all these accusing fingers years later, making allegations of corruption here and there? Why didn't they audit them? That's the first test he failed, if you ask me. And then you come to the issue of corruption in his own government. How many times have we smelled, have we heard, have we seen corruption? From the missing $1 billion to the money that was printed, to the $30 million that was taken to map up exercises. What about cutting civil servants' pay unjustifiably? By the way, what are they doing with that money they cut off the people pay? What project? What monument? What have they done? What's the one thing that anybody can point to in Liberia that has been achieved as a result of pay cut, salary harmonization, they call it? I can't think of one. This man could not even investigate simple allegations of corruption in his government, let alone dismiss, suspend, or dismiss. I got to tell you, though, the people who work for George Weah, they were really lucky, because it appears that if you work for him, as long as you don't go his way, as long as you don't follow his girlfriend, as long as you don't meet anywhere, you are safe. You're on the job for good. No matter what happens, you'll stay there. Corruption. I mean, in a way, you got to understand too, because he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone, they say, right? Of course, George Weah, I'm sure he thinks about that. He probably reluctant to investigate corruption, because in many ways, a conscience will not let him do that, considering that he's the most corrupt official Liberia has ever known. So for that, my friends, I don't think you should give George Weah another term. Come on, there's better government. I get it. I know that many of you so-called young people have not traveled outside Liberia. So you don't know what a good government or good governance is. So what you see before you think that's a yardstick. It can't be better than that. No, you're wrong. Liberia was better than that before the war. Now, how can we be bragging about Liberia before 1989 in 2023, when every country is moving far ahead? When I went to school in Liberia before the war, I worked night shift at different jobs. I worked night just like I do here in the US. So that means Liberia had 24-hour economy before the war. There were people who worked days, some people worked nights. No, don't tell me about security guys sitting in front of people door right now and say they work at night. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, businesses were open considerably. Cab drivers, the crime rate wasn't what it was. People felt safe at home. There was security. The nightlife was lively. Nightlife was as good as it could be. As it could be. But today, there's only nightlife for people who got bodyguards, or people who don't value their life, or people who are part of the, associate, some kind of, you know what I mean? Because there's no security. The president said everybody should buy CCTV and be your own security. So I don't think you should give George Weah another chance because the man is corrupt. Very, very corrupt. Number two, look at President Weah now. Is there any question in anybody's mind that this man is a rich man today, wealthy? What did he do immediately when he came to power? When you've been wanting to do something so low, you don't have the means. As soon as opportunity comes, what do? Boom, you jump on that thing. It becomes the first target. Isn't that what President Weah did with 49 housing units? Apparently, he was so eager to build. He was living in such a regret as to having spent his millions of dollars from SACA. Didn't have anything else left. The only thing I remember, John, we used to have the old school nightclub, okay, old school nightclub, and this and that. That was it. None of them even exist anymore. Junior professional, whatever. So this man was broke to the extent that, or maybe perhaps he also reluctant to audit Ellen because he worked for Ellen government, right? Was he not peace ambassador with over $1 million budget? And then he came to be senator. But by then he didn't have any more money from SACA. He had spent all of it. All of it. And that's why I said earlier today that, look, you show me one property in Liberia, show me one thing, not two, just one thing that you can clearly point to as something that George Weah acquired, that he owned, that is of standard, that matches his title, all the title he acquired, that he got wholly and solely from SACA. Nothing. None exists. Or non-existent. Still don't exist anyway. Let's be clear. Notwithstanding, he owns more property than anybody today, probably than many former presidents that I know. President Weah owns more properties in Liberia today than Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Samuel Doe, and probably other presidents before combined. And we know he didn't get them from SACA. And we know he has not even served a 2-term yet. He got all these things just within the first 6 years. Less than 6 years here, not quite. The first 5 years. Well, he built them quickly. I said to say somebody say, "Oh, Begu, he's strong. You got to do these things right now, because you never know what may come your way. You never know. You want big houses, build them now. You want buy properties in Ghana, Accra, buy it now. Oh, you want that mansion in Abidjan, you better get it now. Don't buy in America because they're going to audit people. They're going to seize people's properties. So make sure you spend most of it in Western Africa, around Africa." So again, that brings us to the same idea of corruption. And corruption is bad because it takes away from the needy and give it to the greedy. From needy to greedy. That's what it does. It deprives less fortunate children out of well-deserved opportunities, education, good meal, good roof over their head, good sanitation, good roads, and so forth. And give it to the greedy who don't want to amass wealth. They just want to part of money. See what happened to the Gabon, the recently overthrown president from Gabon. See how much money was acquired, was recovered. Not just some though. You have to wonder, how much money does one person need to live? When are you going to spend all of that? Especially when you're over 50. What are you going to do? So do not, whatever you do Do not vote George Weah. And that doesn't mean you don't like him. It just means that you love Liberia more. I love George Weah, but I love Liberia more. That's the point. All right, you get it? And that's the point. George Weah is an icon, football icon. All of us have bragged about him, with him, at some point in time in our life. Oh, you don't know about country? Have you heard of George Weah? Oh, yeah. But now we know that soccer fee is a different thing compared to leadership. George Weah could not manage Lone Star. I swear to God. Have we forgotten that? When George Weah was captain for Lone Star, were they not fighting every time? George Weah, Salensa Diba, Jonah. He was never a good captain. He was never able to manage a soccer team. And now we took the whole nation and gave it to him. Well, maybe it was worth a try because of his popularity. But have we not learned enough over the last 5 years or so? Let's not give George Weah another chance at the Liberia presidency. It's not worth it. George Weah has got no new ideas. The old ideas didn't exist. So he never implemented any because he didn't have it. And now he has no new. What has he told you? Senkia, please started. What new promises has he made? What promises at all, if any? Nothing. Why do you want to elect such men when you don't even have anything to hold you accountable for? Somebody told me that somebody said, but why are you so critical of George Weah? You know, you gotta remember that people elected him without him making any promises to them anyway. He didn't tell them he was not corrupt. He didn't tell them he was going to build a country. He didn't tell them he was going to do anything for them. They just elected him because they love him. So technically, he really has nothing to. He's not responsible. He's not supposed to do anything for anybody because he didn't ask anybody to elect him on any promise. They elected him because they like him, and fine. So he would do what he does best, and it's up to you who elected him. All right. So that's the second reason, similar to the first reason. I told you I'm going to give you 4 reasons tonight, and then we'll come back next week. So the other reason why I think you should not vote George Weah is that this man, he's got to be, if he's not the most unserious president in the world, then he certainly is in Liberia. Look at the country, look at the global crisis. Look at the global economy. See, leaders go to bed. These are the times when leaders go to bed and wake up without any sleep. They are constantly thinking, worrying as to how they can put their countries on the right trajectory, on the map. Instead, what your president do? He's singing. He's putting on new albums. He's competing with local musicians. He's dancing booger, whatever you call it. I safe to say that's not enough. It takes your country resources again. I told you, it takes your money and takes huge entourage and go to Qatar to go watch his son play football for almost a month. Seriously? You think Messi now from country too? Messi who took the World Cup? Their country doesn't have president? Or is it the president? Oh, maybe arguably, maybe their president's son wasn't playing, right? Oh, I get it. I see. But seriously, on a serious note, George Weah is not a serious president. He's never been. He's not going to be. In Liberia, we say you can't teach an old dog a new trick. George Weah is George Weah. The thing about George Weah, though, George Weah is very consistent. He'll play ball. Straight, plain and simple. So what you like it, you like him, you don't like it, but he's going to be who he is. You got to love him for that. George Weah is not prepared to lead. He's never been prepared. You rewarded him the presidency. I don't know because of, I don't know. I hear people say George Weah rescued Lone Star many times, and so that's reason to have elected. Seriously? The man who could not even rescue himself. So I don't think George Weah is a serious person. You should not vote for him. Lastly, and this may strike you, probably I shouldn't be saying this, but lastly, now, I am vehemently opposed to the idea of Liberia being a Christian nation. I've never subscribed to that. I know when I interviewed then Senator Joy Howard Taylor, who is now the VP, on my show many times, we debated that issue. But you know what? As much as I don't believe that Liberia is a Christian nation, I still believe that Liberia is a nation of religious people. There are a lot of good Christians in Liberia, and so are Muslims, traditional worshippers. But you know what? George Weah is neither. George Weah is not a Christian. Are you kidding me? George Weah is not a good Christian. Just because he goes to church today, oh, by the way, guys who church now, right? He goes to a puppet, I don't know, but he has his own church now. Think about that. But just because he claims that he goes to church, that does not make him a Christian. That is not enough. Have you forgotten that he also used to go to the mosque for over 10 years, more than 10 years? He used to go to the mosque. George Weah is neither a Christian nor a Muslim. So if he's not a pagan, I don't know what he qualified to be. He used to go to the mosque over 10 years. He still goes to the mosque, by the way. You know that. Why would you want such a man? I thought you said you were Christians. I thought you said you were Christians. You believe in people who believe in God. George Weah is neither a Muslim nor a Christian. He's what my friend can always say, Christmas, right? Christmas, the new terminology. Christmas, Christian Muslim. You know, when you see Muslim people, you become Muslim. You pray with them. When you see Christian, and then he say, and he's not even afraid to say that. He say, well, God is everywhere. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray with anybody. Seriously? Seriously. Well, George Weah, you need to make up your mind. You need to make up your mind as to who you want to be. What side are you on? What side? Anyway, time is of essence. It's almost 11. I started the show very late because of some personal issues I was dealing with. I know a lot of people in bed, people getting ready for work tomorrow. Liberia people are 3 in the morning now. But my hope is that you will help me to share the show so that, you know, when people wake up in the morning, tomorrow or whatever day, you know, that it will get to them and they too will share it. And but trust me, I told you when I started last week that the goal, my new goal of coming back on the show now is to do a show between now to at least until October 10th concerning Liberia and Liberia's election. And if I'm able to change one mind, just one, not two, then my job is done. That's what I want. That's what I want. I don't come here under the illusion that I'm going to change the narrative. No, I'm not Costa. I'm not Spoon TV. Certainly not. I don't pretend to be. But you know, sometimes the authenticity, you know, the relevance of a show is not determined by the number of people. So sometimes people have to listen to it. People need to give it a chance to hear the analysis, listen to it, and I'm sure it will make sense to some people. So I have come here once again, not to steal your mind, not to fool myself into believing that I can make any serious dent into George Weah's support. But I've come here strongly believing for that matter, that at least I can change a mind, one, 2, 3, and that's what I intend to do. We do follow-up phone calls with our people in Liberia, and we try to guide them on the right path. And some people have asked, well, why you not campaigning for XYZ party? Because XYZ party can campaign for themselves. We are campaigning for very serious candidates at this time. Serious candidates to the extent that even the XYZ talking about that they themselves will end up campaigning for later. So there's no need to waste time about that. We voted for Joe Biden here now because we believe that Joe Biden was the absolute best candidate. No. But it was the closest. It was the name that Donald Trump feared. long before the election. That's why Donald Trump started all that Ukraine thing over Hunter Biden, right? He knew the need Joe Biden was one that was capable of removing him. Just as George Weah knows of all the candidates in the race, they're not worried about tier one. They're not worried about you name that. Their greatest focus is on Umar Baka. That's why they're always toting casket of Joe Baka is dead. The man living on a pacemaker. The man is almost dead. You know the funny thing about that? If anyone would have predicted that 2023 election would not have met what do you call the Bassa man, Brodsky alive, he looked healthy, certainly healthier than JNB in body, right? In activities, younger too, I believe. What about Dr. Cassell? And they go. So you be toting casket around talking about the man almost there. Maybe that man will bury you. Maybe Umar Baka will bury you. You don't know. When it comes to matters of life and death, only God can determine that. Only God decides that. Now you're wishful thinking, unless of course you want to go do something else because you also know you are capable of that. But apart from that, just leaving the man in his natural state with God, only God can decide who goes first. The argument that Joe Baka is too old, he's gonna die soon, like some people want others to believe. I'm sure that's an argument that the late Dr. Cassell would have made. I'm also sure Brodsky, looking at himself, looking at Joe Baka, he could have made such, maybe entertain the idea too. But look at that, see where we are. So okay, don't ever wish another person's death in the name of politics. That's not a good politics. It's never been. So I'm going to leave it here, and I want to thank a few of you who were here. Started very late, and because I had to deal with this, but I will come next week, inshallah. That's the promise I made. Every week we'll do at least one show to discuss some of these issues, to conscientize our people, and make follow-up calls. To make sure that Omar Joseph Numa Boakai is elected president of Liberia, so that all of us can benefit, including the Weah man himself. Because when the country is good, it's good for everybody. When it's as bad as it is under Weah right now, then of course it becomes good just for the handful of people, the people that are closer to the power that be. And that's what we don't want. Living a good life in our country should not have to be a privilege. It is a right. That's the point they are missing. Anyway, so I see you. Let's have a good night.
Seven are crying, market women are crying. Jawiago, we tire, Jawiago. Innocent people are dying, the students are taking home. Jawiago, we tire, Jawiago. Jawiago, Jawiago, Jawiago. We tire, Jawiago, Jawiago, Jawiago. We tire, we tire, hey, go, 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 whoa, whoa, hey, go, 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 whoa, whoa, Liberia is bleeding, the people are suffering. We are go, we tire, we are go. We tire with the own God. We tire.